Hey everyone, and welcome. So today, we're going to dive into a really thoughtful essay from Humia. And it explores this feeling that, well, a lot of us know it, but we can't always put a name to it. It's that gap, right? The gap between being told you matter and actually truly feeling like you do.
Yeah, and the opening line of this Humio article, wow, it's a real gut punch. People may be told they matter, yet experience themselves as powerless. It's so simple, but it just perfectly captures this deep, modern contradiction so many of us are silently trying to figure out every single day.
Exactly. And, it's a contradiction that's so easy to just dismiss as obvious. I mean, we're surrounded by affirmations, right? But what this Huma essay argues is that the real story is in the quiet, profound pain of that gap. It's in that space between the words we hear and the lives we're actually, able to live. And that's it, right there. This is the core distinction that the entire essay is built on. It's the big idea we're going to spend some time unpacking today. The difference between just symbolic worth and real, lived, tangible agency. All right, so let's really dig into this distinction because the Humia essay does such a brilliant job of breaking down these two concepts. And they get mixed up all the time. Okay, so on one side, you've got the symbolic affirmations. And our culture is great at these, right? Things like, every person has value, or you are important. And look, these are morally true, they're necessary.
Totally. But then you look at the other side, and that's where it gets real. It's not about slogans anymore. It's about these practical, almost gut check questions. Like, can you actually contribute in a meaningful way? Can you see a tangible impact from what you do? Are you really participating in your own life, or does it just feel like you're enduring it? And when the answers to those questions are no, well, those symbolic words can start to feel pretty hollow.
And the really crucial point here is that this isn't about some kind of personal failing. The Humia essay points out that our nervous systems, they learn from experience. So if we're constantly in situations where we have no real influence, of course our motivation is going to erode. It's just how we're wired. Dignity, it seems, has to be an action, not just a nice-sounding slogan.
Okay, so this is where the conversation takes a really interesting turn, because the article pivots away from just these moral declarations and asks us to think about a factual basis for why we matter. And that is such a powerful reframe, isn't it? It moves us away from these abstract ideas that we're just supposed to believe, and it points us towards something we can actually observe in ourselves and in each other.
Yeah, the essay points to these things that we can actually see, these observable capacities. We can reason, we can imagine things that don't exist yet, we can care for one another, and, this is a big one, we are aware that we exist. We're not just, reacting to the world, we can actually shape it intentionally.
And that's the foundation of our dignity, right there. It's not just a nice idea, it's a factual reality. We matter because we are, by our very nature, these living systems of agency and intelligence and care.
So if we have all these incredible capacities built into us, what happens when we can't use them? Well, the article gives a name to the emotional cost of that gap. It calls it the quiet grief.
Man, this quote really hits home. The slow accumulation of postponed dreams, unused talents, and constrained possibility. It just perfectly captures that feeling of being stuck, or, like the Humaya essay says, living on mute. It's not about one big tragedy. It's about that slow, quiet withering that can happen when you have to just shelf your creative instincts to get by year after year.
And what's so important here is the reframing of that feeling, that sense of grief, of dissonance. It isn't a sign that you're being selfish or ungrateful. The essay argues it's an important signal, a signal that your innate human capacities are being constrained.
Okay, so if that feeling is a signal, what is it pointing to? This leads us to what might be one of the most powerful ideas in the entire humane essay. It's not a personal flaw.
And that is such a liberating thought, isn't it? It just shifts the entire burden of blame away from the individual, away from that "what's wrong with me" question, and onto an analysis of the systems we're all living inside of.
Yeah, and the article lists a bunch of these structural factors. We're talking about things like economic systems that narrow your options, or credential barriers, health limitations, even just shrinking pathways for meaningful work. It shows how a person can be hardworking and intelligent and totally capable and still find themselves with very little real agency, sometimes for decades. So if it's a design problem and not a personal one, where does that leave us? Where do we find hope? The article offers this really grounded and, I think, constructive vision of what hope actually looks like in practice. I love this definition. It's called mature hope.
And what's so powerful about it is that it's not about blind optimism, and it's definitely not about hustle culture. It's this quiet, steady belief that you can rebuild meaningful agency even a little bit at a time, even if it feels late and even if it's imperfect. It's a slow process. And that first step, it turns out, is just honesty, just naming the experience. Being able to say, I've been told I matter, but I haven't been able to actually live that truth. The essay suggests that doing that can be incredibly powerful. It starts to loosen the grip of shame and allows you to start asking new and frankly more useful questions.
And the Humia essay suggests starting with a really gentle question. It's not asking for a revolution, just a quiet scan of your current reality. Just asking yourself, where does agency still exist? Where, even in a tiny way, do you still have some choice?
Right. And the next question follows from that. It's about taking small, manageable steps, not, betting the farm on some huge change. It's just asking, what experiments are safe to try? What's something low risk you can do that lets you exercise one of those core human capacities, even just for a little while?
And finally, this last question really brings it all back to right now, to the present moment. It's so empowering because it's so gentle and concrete. What small dignity can be reclaimed today? What is just one small thing you can do today to feel a sense of your own agency?
So ultimately, this Humea essay leaves us with this really powerful idea that being told we matter, that's important, but being able to matter, that's where our dignity becomes real. If you want to go deeper on this, you can find the full article over at humena.life.
Thanks so much for joining us for this discussion.